course, it is time to start our Wednesday with our flashcards because we use these all throughout our day, so we want to make sure they're nice and fresh in our brain. So are you ready to say our sounds nice and loud? Here we go. E. Again. You can feel the difference in your throat. Ch. Ooh. Remember, feel it on your hand. Ooh. Ch. A. 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 U or oo. A. 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 O. Sh. I. U. O. E. O. E. I. Awesome job! Great job warming up those brains. Let's go see what grammar is about today. Welcome to Grammar Second Grade for the start of this wonderful Wednesday. I am so happy you're here and I hope you are ready to get started with grammar. But before we start decoding, do you remember what is grammar? What is this new part that we are working on this week? Grammar is what? It's the rules that we have to follow when we write and speak the English language. So grammar are rules that we have to learn and really memorize in order to read and write English correctly. So before we get to grammar, we've got to practice our decoding detective skills with words that have important vowels in them. Today we're going to be paying attention to the vowels in the word. You're going to see vowel consonant E or our good old vowel teams. So let's take a look. Dun, dun, dun. What vowel pattern do you see? It's vowel consonant E. So the silent E will make the vowel say its long sound. So it's going to say I. What's the word? Bride. Bride. Like when someone gets married, they're a bride. And this one, what does the vowel say here? O, because we have vowel consonant E. So this word is broke. 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 Like you broke the glass. And last but not least, what is this word? What does the vowel say? E. So the word is sweep. Sweep. Like if you're cleaning with a broom, you sweep the floor. Good job, second grade. We are done with decoding. So now we can look at our new learning target for grammar. It says, I can correctly write a contraction within a sentence. So we know yesterday we were working with contractions, which was the second use of apostrophes. Yesterday we were just working with contractions on their own, in isolation. But today we're going to put them in a sentence and practice writing them like we would in our personal narratives or our journals. So today, we get to take a contraction and put it in an entire sentence to practice using it just like we would in writing. So like I mentioned, a contraction has been one of the uses of a apostrophe. Remember our friend the apostrophe? On Monday, we talked about how apostrophes can show possession, talk about belonging, like Miss Wrangle's pen. But yesterday, we focused on contractions. Contractions. When two words are squished together to become one, and some of the letters are replaced with an apostrophe. Like is not becomes isn't. And we're going to continue to work on contractions today because they're really tricky. And we want to make sure that we can practice as much as possible. So let's review real quick. How do these contractions work? Okay, what if we have you are? These are two words. They're going to get smushed together, and a letter is going to be replaced with an apostrophe. What do you see? What letter is getting replaced? It's underlined. The A is going to disappear, and an apostrophe is going to take its place. So you are will become your. There's now an apostrophe in place of an A, and the two words are squished together. Can you all say this with me? You are, your. Good job. Okay, let's look at another one. Da-da-da. You will. When we have will, and we're trying to make a contraction, there's going to be two letters that are replaced with an apostrophe. What two letters in will are going to be replaced? The W and the I will both be replaced with an apostrophe. So you will become, it will be you-ol. There's no longer that W and the I. In its place is an apostrophe. So all we say is the ending sound, ol. Can you read this with me? You will, you'll. We took these two words, smushed them together, and created a contraction. Good job, awesome people. But I want you to keep in mind that there are two tricky contractions. There are two words that when they smush together, they don't follow any of the patterns we've been talking about. These are the ones that we need to keep a close eye on. And those are the words will not and the word cannot. These two words, when they become a contraction, are going to do something totally crazy. They go rogue. So in will not, you see I have a lot of letters underlined. That's because all these letters are going to disappear. Will not becomes won't. That doesn't follow any of the patterns. Will not becomes won't. This I and the L disappeared, and then look, the N and the O switched places. And the apostrophe is towards the end of the word. We have W-O-N apostrophe T. Will not goes crazy and it becomes won't. Can you say this with me? Will not, won't. So this entire middle part changed. The W and the T stayed the same, and then we have O-N, own, and the apostrophe T. That one's really, really tricky. And the next crazy contraction is when we see the word cannot. I cannot do that. But when we have a contraction, usually with not, the O just disappears. But not in this case, because there's two N's. So one of those N's is going to disappear as well. And cannot becomes can't. This N and the O are replaced with an apostrophe. And cannot becomes can't. Can you say that with me? Cannot, cannot, can't, can't. So these are the two tricky contractions that we really want to make sure we are taking extra time on if we're trying to write them, because they're tricky. Will not becomes won't, and cannot becomes can't. Okay, awesome job reviewing how we make contractions. Now we're going to practice using them within a sentence. So this is when you are going to get out your Super Kids workbook. So you are going to find page, this is page 17. Page 17. You're going to get this page out and we're going to work on it right now together. So everyone has page 17 out. Page 17. So on this page, we have two words in every sentence that are in pink. Our job is going to be to change these pink words into a contraction. Then we will read the sentence using that contraction. So the first one's already done for us. He is the fastest kid on the planet. How can we write the sentence using a contraction? Can you trace it in right here? What would it be? How do we say this? He's. Remember that Z sound? So now we can read this as, he's the fastest kid on the planet. That sentence means the exact same thing. We just turn these first words into a contraction. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on this page. Let's look at number two. Number two, I want you to follow along with your finger as I read. She cannot stand egg salad sandwiches. So what word is in pink? Cannot is in pink. Cannot is in pink. So remember, this is one of the tricky ones we just looked at. There's going to be two letters that are replaced with an apostrophe. Can you cross out what two letters are going to be replaced with an apostrophe in cannot? The N and the O are going to be replaced. That second N and the O. An apostrophe will go there instead. So cannot will become what? Can you write it out? Cannot will be C-A-N apostrophe T. Can't. The N and the O are no longer there, but in its place is an apostrophe. Okay, can we now read this sentence with an apostrophe? Here we go. She can't stand egg salad sandwiches. We just replaced cannot with can't and said the same sentence. Okay, what about number three? What about number three? I'm going to read it for us. She was not glad to get a kiss. So what two words are in pink and what two words are we going to turn into a contraction? The was not. Was not. So in was not, what letter is going to be replaced with an apostrophe? What letter? Look, it's the word not. So what letter is replaced with an apostrophe? It's going to just be the O. because this is a regular contraction, so just the O is going to be replaced. So was not will become what? Can you write it out? Was N apostrophe T. What word is this? Wasn't. 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 Okay, are you ready to read this new sentence with our contraction? Remember, follow along as I read. She wasn't glad to get a kiss. Great work. Okay, Super Scholars, awesome job using a contraction within a sentence. Before we practice this on our own, I want you to stand up because we're going to move our bodies. Okay, my this or that question for you today in grammar made me really, really hungry and want to order some food. So my question for you is, do you prefer pancakes? If so, you're going to touch the ceiling. Or do you prefer waffles? If so, you're going to touch the ground. So make a pick. This sounds so good. Do you like pancakes or waffles? I'm going to go with waffles, so I'm going to touch the ground 5 times. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is it. We got little squats going, so go ahead, sit back down in your seat. And now you're just going to be watching as I talk about how we can write contractions in our own sentences. So, Super Scholars, if I want to write a sentence with the words we will, but I want to write it as a contraction instead, how am I going to do that? We will. What 2 letters do I have to replace with an apostrophe if I want to write this as a contraction? The W and the I are going to get replaced. And I'm going to create the contraction we apostrophe LL, which is wheel. Wheel. So we're practicing writing contractions within a sentence. So I want to keep writing after my contraction. We'll be the best we can. Exclamation point. So I just wrote a sentence with a contraction. We will be the best we can, or we'll be the best we can. I just made up this sentence and it went with my contraction. And I was able to show that I can use a contraction within a sentence when I'm writing, because that's our goal today. So let's see if we can work on another one. Okay, this contraction is one of those tricky ones we had to look at earlier. Cannot. Cannot. I want to write a sentence with cannot, but as a contraction. So how am I going to turn cannot into a contraction? What letters will be replaced? There's going to be 2 of them. What 2 letters? The second N and the O are going to be replaced with that apostrophe. So what word would that be? What word would that turn into? Can't. Can, apostrophe T. Can't. So I'm going to think, what situation would I say can't? Trying to think of a sentence that I would write with can't. Oh, I know. I can't do this. You know where I'm going? Yet. That's something we say to ourselves for our superpower. I can't do this yet. But we can also say, I cannot do this yet. Both of those are correct. We're just practicing using our contraction way of writing. So I turned cannot into can't and made up my own sentence to show I could use it as I'm writing. I cannot do this yet. So, Super Scholars, this is going to be your goal today, to write your own sentences with contractions. So let's see what you gotta do. So you are gonna write 3 sentences for me, 3 sentences all using a contraction. You're gonna need to write a sentence with I will, have not, and are not. But you're not gonna write a sentence with these words. You're gonna write a sentence with the contraction of these words. So you're gonna have to make sure you know what is I will as a contraction, what's have not as a contraction, and what's are not as a contraction. You will have to identify this before you start writing your sentences, because you want to make sure you do it correctly. Just like we practiced those 2 times, you are going to write a sentence using these contractions. There's going to be 1 sentence per contraction, so 3 overall. They don't have to do anything with each other. They can be completely silly sentences, but you are going to be thinking of whatever you want to write about, as long as it has 1 of these contractions in it. And when you're done, you are going to take a picture of your sentences in your best handwriting so I can see what you wrote. I need to see a picture of all 3 sentences written separately with your best handwriting using a contraction. So, Super Scholars, awesome job learning about such a brand new thing as grammar and apostrophes. And I can't wait for us to practice using a contraction in our writing. So, let's go!